Pledge of Allegiance, let us take a moment of silence to pray for Woodbury and for our residents along with their families. Let us pray for residents' peace and peace in their homes with their families and all their loved ones. Let us pray for everyone's health, for everyone who might be going through illness or any type of family disharmony. Finally, let us pray for guidance for all in this community. Now we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Welcome to the town board meeting, August 6th, 2024. For those of us visiting for the first time, I would like to introduce the town board and the town clerk. Present here today, we have Councilmember Brandon Calori. Next, we have Councilmember Sandra Capriglione. In the center is Councilmember Teresa Valongo. On my left is Deputy Supervisor Tim Finnegan, and to my right is Town Clerk Desiree Potman. I'm the Town Supervisor Keith Luciani, and thank you everybody for attending tonight's board meeting. Now we'll move on to the public hearing for introductory local law number 2, 2024 Code of Ethics. Desiree, can you please read the public hearing notice?
A public hearing is being held to entertain public comments on introductory local law 2 of 2024 entitled Ethics Code of, which will amend section 39-4J of the town code relating to nepotism. The public notice was printed in the Times Herald Record on July 25th, 2024.
Thank you, Desiree. The purpose of this law, introductory local law, will be once again addressed by our legal counsel, Ed.
Yeah. Okay. Good evening, everyone. So I just want to generally explain what the law is going to do. Under the current law of this code, with all due respect to predecessor, whoever drafted it, it's not drafted really well. There's some problems with it. So it starts off by saying, employees' relatives will not be employed by the town on a full-time basis under any of the following circumstances, and gives different conditions. So the first problem with that is it says employees' relatives will not be employed. Legally, that doesn't mean much. So normally when you write a law, you want to say someone has a duty or an obligation or is prohibited from doing something. So you say shall or shall not, may or may not. Will not doesn't really mean anything. It doesn't say who's in charge of doing what and what happens if they do anything. So if you ask me to say, if there's a problem with this and a court has to enforce that, how are they going to interpret this section and what are they going to do as a remedy? The answer is I don't know for sure because it's not clear from the way it's drafted. The other problems that we have with it is it's a very limited law. So it only covers full-time employees, that's it. It doesn't cover part-time or seasonal employees. It doesn't cover me as a town consultant who's hired by the board. It doesn't cover a lot of groups. And there are a lot of loopholes with this. There's a lot of, you could drive a Mack truck through many of them. So as a perfect example, if you, an elected official could hire their fiance or a fiance of one of their children to a full-time job, and then after the wedding happens, after they were hired, no problem. They can supervise them, they control it, doesn't matter, they're exempt under the law. That doesn't make a lot of sense to, I think, most people here. So what the board did is did a survey of a lot of the local laws to see what other towns and villages and cities around here have done. And the language they selected, on my recommendation, is language that's used in at least a dozen municipalities that I can find across the state. Locally, it's used in Newburgh and in Harriman. It's verbatim what it says, and it's very broad language. And it says very simply, without exception, here's how it works. No municipal employee, elected official or otherwise, can make any employment decisions about a relative, hiring, firing, promotion, discipline, anything. They can't do it. And so it says no municipality or employee may not. So it says no, it's a very clear prohibition. The second provision says they can also supervise and audit the work of an employee. So it's very broad language. There's no exceptions. It's very clear, and It's used amongst municipalities across the state, including several of our local municipalities. And so we're just trying to strengthen the provision a little bit and make it a little clearer and make it a little more enforceable. Because under the current law, as a lawyer, I cannot tell you if it goes to court and there's a problem, what's gonna happen. Because it's not clearly, it doesn't prohibit anyone from doing anything. This situation will not happen, but what if it does? And what's the court gonna do? I don't know. So that's the gist of it. If people have comments and questions, I'm happy to address them as that goes along. So,
Thank you, Ed. Does anyone from the public have any comments regarding the introduction of local law two?
So they are able to
State your name.
I'm sorry, Martha Lopez from Highland Mills. Martha Lopez from Highland Mills.
You gotta hold it down to the red light.
Hello.
There you go.
Oh, okay. So the families are still able to be employed, but they just can't supervise them? Is that what you're saying?
under the new law or the old law?
Under the new law. They can still be hired, but they cannot be their immediate supervisor.
They can't be involved in the hiring decision, which is not much different from the current law. And they can't supervise them, that is correct. So if they're hired by someone else, so if the relative in question is in charge of hiring, it doesn't fly. It's gotta be hired by someone else. Does that make sense?
But then, do they vote on whether that
They
person
can't
is
vote,
hired?
they can't vote on what.
They can,
They cannot.
no, I'm saying, but then the board does. So someone else can hire them, but then the board, with the exception of the person who's related to that employee, can vote on it, right? The rest of the board can.
If it's a provision, if it's a position that the board has to approve, then yes, that is correct. The board doesn't approve all
So
employees.
is there anything that can, I think that what the community is concerned about is that we don't want family to be hired. So is there anything that you can put that, I know you said it says will not, but can you say shall not, or can you say may not hire family members? I just don't understand, I thought that there was a law against that.
So, right, there kind of is, and it kind of isn't, is the answer. So, we'd have to redraft that anyway to do that.
Okay.
I guess the question is, it's a policy decision that people have to make.
Okay.
And the reason why this language is adopted as opposed to others, there are other provisions that make it stricter for hiring, and you have to jump through some hoops, but then it ends at hiring. And we're trying to reinvent the wheel and write a whole new law from scratch. We're trying to copy what other folks are doing. And so there are other municipalities that have laws that, like I said, that have a lot of restrictions about when you can hire someone. Very few, I've not seen, in fact, I didn't see one in our review that says you can never hire an employee ever.
A family member.
Family member, right. That is very rare because in a town, sometimes you're gonna have situations where maybe no one else is interested, or maybe it just happens to be that that person has the requisite skills. So a blanket prohibition is not what they wanted to go for, and so that was a policy choice that the board made, one that I recommended because, again, this language is broad, it's easy to enforce, it's very clear what it has to do, and there's no question about what should or shouldn't happen when situations come up.
Can I conclude here?
Well, I do think that family members should not be hired. But in any event, my name is Martha Lopez, I'm from Highland Mills. I'm here to address the proposed changes to the current, well, I can't say to the current because you're saying that it's, I'll just read what I wrote, to the current ethics code. I would like to understand the reasoning behind these sudden changes and would welcome any explanation as to why anyone on the board believes this change would be beneficial to Woodbury. Until we receive such an explanation, I urge you to reconsider the proposed modifications, or to just state that no family member should be hired. Altering the code to benefit family members could undermine the public trust and damage the board's credibility. Such changes might be perceived as favoritism or nepotism, which could erode ethical standards and fairness in Woodbury. It is essential that these modifications align with legal and ethical standards to avoid violating regulations and harming our reputation, Woodbury's reputation. As elected officials, it is crucial to avoid any appearance of conflicts of interest to maintain integrity and effectiveness. Transparency and fairness are paramount. Changes perceived as self-serving could provoke community backlash and undermine our governance. Upholding rigorous ethical standards is vital for maintaining our town's integrity. Thank you for your consideration.
Does anybody else have any public comment?
Hi, Robert Hunter. I was gonna make a speech, but once I stole my thunder, I have to agree with you completely. Board, basically, the awkwardness of hiring and disciplining relatives of board members, that puts you in a bad place. And the optics of it for the community is also bad. People think that something special is going on because you seem to be zeroing in on these few sentences in the code, or are you looking at the rest of the code? I don't know. All of a sudden, there's a special interest in this. It's gonna lead to problems, and the optics of it is really bad. I think it should remain as it is, or perhaps tweak it some to make it stronger. Because this board and any future board is gonna have to deal with what you decide. So think carefully about it, get a lot of input, and don't rush it. Thanks.
Can I make a couple of points on that. The board will tell you, not to break attorney-client privilege, but I've told them straight up, the entire code, entire ethics code has problems the way it's written, and the whole thing should probably be rewritten. I have told them that. So to your point, I tend to agree that there are some issues with definitional section. There's a lot of, I won't go laundry list now. There's a lot of problems with this. But to answer your question more specifically, this is, the new language covers more people, and there's fewer exceptions, so it's much broader than the existing language. It covers way more positions, way more situations than the current language does. So.
Thank you. Anybody else have any more questions?
Mary Kowski, Highland Mills. It's a rhetorical question. So, are you saying, I think it's not right that you say you can't employ any family member. Now, are you telling me that there is no one that is in the town or the village that has any other family member working for the town or the village?
So, you're looking at me
Is
as,
that a yes or is that a no?
you're looking at me as, instead of a rhetorical question, I can answer it. The answer is I don't know. This doesn't cover the village. The village has a separate government with a separate code. I don't know what the village provision is, I haven't looked at it recently, but so this only covers town employees, it doesn't affect, so a relative of a town employee who works at the village is not covered by this.
Okay.
Might be covered by the village code, I'm not sure.
So, a town person that already has been in office and already has had a family member in the town, working for the town before this whole entire shenanigans started, there is no one in the town that has a family member working for the town before this date.
I can't speak to that, I don't know. I don't know every employee of the town, I'm sorry.
There are people.
Yeah.
So, that's what I'm saying, so there already have been previous people. Okay, that's my rhetorical question.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Maria Hunter, Woodbury. Just for the record, I'm a 45-year resident of this Woodbury.
I've been through numerous supervisors, town board members. Even had my husband as an 8-year town board member. Gone through village, mayors, trustees, council people. Been through a lot in the last, for almost 40 years I've been involved. Politically, as a election inspector, accused of taking care of one party versus the other. Been through it all the last few years. I respectfully ask this board and to the attorney that you postpone and carry this meeting over until September, the second meeting. One, due to the fact it's August, for a lot of people on vacation. As some of you board members, you've been away, I've been away, and missed a couple of meetings. We need to, I'm respectfully asking that this board carry this meeting over, because as the attorney just stated a little while ago, this entire code, chapter 39 ethics code, needs to be reviewed, not just one little section. You're putting in you're putting in 2 little paragraphs where you're removing 6 paragraphs, 6 subdivisions. And then looking at the law, because everyone knows that I will do my homework and pull the laws out and look at them. Under G, investments, no board member. 1 and 2, no board member. H, future employment, no board member, no board member. That's consistent throughout the law. When it comes to J for the nepotism, it doesn't say that, and I agree, it's not there. It's not consistent with this whole entire chapter. And just to take one little section of this chapter and not do the entire chapter, which really should be looked at, because it's, what, Desiree, 20 years maybe? Not even?
I don't know, when did my husband work for the town?
Thank you. You're not the only one on that board that has an employee that did or is currently working for the
That's
town.
when the law went into effect.
And I always call it the Potvin Law, because someone on the board didn't like the idea that Desiree was an elected official and her husband was working for the town.
But she's not anymore.
He's not. Let me finish.
And hasn't for quite some time.
He hasn't worked for the town for quite some, as soon as this law was
20
changed,
years.
he moved on.
20-something years. Yeah.
20-some years ago. 8 years my husband was on the board. Numerous full-time jobs may have come up. I couldn't apply for them. Okay? Now, is it fair to me that you go and change this law? That's something that I could have done 11 years ago? It's not right. So, yes, I am not for this law, and I really wish it would be tabled for transparency and ethically. And this law, it says no municipal officer or employee. Shouldn't it say elected office, elected official? And what employee? Are you saying that if, who do we have as a town employee? I can't even put someone's name out there. Leslie. Well, not Leslie. Let's say she comes in and a family member of hers becomes full-time. She can't hire that person, she can't discipline that person, she can't do anything to that person. Because it's more than just hiring, Martha. It says promote, discipline, or discharge a relative for any position. To me, it should stay board member. Which board member? Clarify, no town board member. And when it goes on to say, or as a member of a board, shouldn't it say town board? Clarify, if you're gonna clarify this and you want it to be very concise, I used to work for 2 different attorneys, so yes, I get technical. And when that first sentence, no municipal officer or employee, either individually or as a member of a board, may participate in any decision. I know you're not supposed to put 2 negatives in the sentence, but shouldn't say may not participate. Is there a word missing? I don't know. But grammatically, you're not supposed to put 2 negatives in a sentence, but there is a comma there, so it could be an exception. And it should say, clearly state, full-time, part-time, seasonal, because that's what we hire. I don't think we hire for anything else. There's full-time, part-time, and there's a seasonal, which is the parks employees. So there's a lot of things in this law that need to be looked at. And if you're gonna do one little section, I don't think it's doing fair to the residents of Woodbury, because as the attorney stated, and he did state it, this law needs to be looked at. And I think it should be looked at in its entirety, not just one little section. And it says, no municipal officer or employee may supervise a relative in the performance of their relative's official powers or duties. That's out there. It's not concise. So, and then to take those paragraphs and then just take out all this whole nepotism section and just put that little section in. I'm sorry, I respect you as an attorney, don't get me wrong, but you're new to Woodbury, you're new to Orange County. And I would like to see what other towns and villages law that I will go home now and I will look up my own nepotism law in the village of Harriman. Because I never had to look it up because we don't, I will go look it up because I just heard it tonight. I know, I'm saying, I'm not disagreeing, because we don't have that issue in Harriman. So there was no need for that. So I just, once again, I'm gonna respectfully request that this meeting be postponed or closed and not move forward with it, and ask the attorney to redraft a more comprehensive chapter that we can all put our hands around. Thank you. Excuse me.
Alright, if I may, a couple things. So, first off, I respectfully disagree that just because something is shorter doesn't mean it's less effective. I think shorter, that's clearer, is better than longer and gobbledygook. The second, to answer your question about, it says no municipal officer or employee, then that exactly is supposed to be broad. It covers everybody. It doesn't cover just the board. It covers department heads. It covers any supervisory position, any hiring position, anywhere in the town. And it was designed that way on purpose because this is a broader law than the current law. In terms of may versus may not, you're right. You don't want to do a double negative. So we could have had said any municipal officer or employee may not. That would be an equivalent language. The reason why we use this language is because, as I said, it is verbatim to language that's used in dozens of municipalities, including Harriman and including Newburgh. That's why we copied it. We didn't change a word on purpose because we're not reinventing the wheel. In terms of the comma is setting off that parenthetical of no municipal officer, employee, comma, either individually or as a member of the board, comma. So again, that's broadening language. That's saying you can't do it either as an individual hiring someone or as part of a board that you sit on. You can't do it. It covers the beautification committee. It covers every single element of the town that exists. It's designed to be broad on purpose. That's how it's written. So it's designed to cast as wide as possible. It covers every single position and every single hiring person. The current law doesn't do that. And that's the point. And to answer your question about, you said it should say all employees. It does. It says any position. So it covers full-time employees, part-time employees. It covers volunteer situations where you're working for free. This is covered. Under the current law, it doesn't cover that. It covers my position, which is the town consultant. That's not, again, under the current law, it's not covered. Under this law, it is.
I'm not gonna debate the attorney. He was a very good attorney that I worked with for many years on the planning board. If it's not written, it cannot be enforced. If you don't have it in writing, it's meaningless. And that attorney is Richard Golden. I stand by what he always told us, because I couldn't do certain things because by law, it was in the code book, it was in the law. If it's not written, you cannot do anything about it. That's why I say put as much in it that you can. And to say that you put laws that were verbatim, you want to recreate the wheel, how do we know, the board may know, but the public doesn't know, that these laws are 40, 50 years old and are archaic? We don't know which, I'm gonna go look up Newburgh and Harriman when I go home and see what they say. What other towns or villages were looked at within Orange County that have the same dynamics that we have? I don't know that. So maybe the board can put something out on Facebook or broadcast an email so we know what was looked at, because we weren't given much information. And I'm sorry I missed a couple meetings, but I'm here now.
Any other comments?
Just another rhetorical question. you're saying that no town member on the board can hire a family member, is that correct?
Under the new code?
Yes,
Correct.
that's not discrimination? Just a rhetorical question.
It's not, no.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments?
Jimmy A. Highland Mills. I mean, I saw this posted and, you know, I didn't pay much attention to it, so, you know what, let me pull it up and read it. I'm horrible legalese. You're saying right now that with this new section, a family member can be hired for the town, but the board member cannot make a decision. That's what the new law says, correct? Or the new,
Right, because the
Okay.
current law, a family member could be hired by the town, and the board member can vote for that person
Okay,
under the current
so-
law.
so, but they were still able to be hired. Or they weren't supposed to be hired.
I can give you more,
Okay.
give you more examples.
The current rule or whatever, you know what? Brandon could hire any family member he wants and make a decision, correct? The way it stands right now.
As long as it's not a full-time employee, if it's me, if it's a consultant, if it's a seasonal.
No, I'm saying what it is currently,
Right, that's what I'm saying, currently,
okay?
as long as it's not classified as a full-time employee. So if they're a seasonal employee, or a part-time employee, or a consultant, or a independent contractor, yeah, absolutely, you can do that
Okay,
now.
so
Under this
now
law, you
with
could.
this new law
You can't do
is you're
that.
saying you can hire a family member, but he has to sit out.
Right, other people can hire family members, he can't hire.
He can't, okay,
Right.
but, okay, no, that makes sense. But my question is, again, someone, they brought it up, why just this? Like, you're the expert, you have issues with code of ethics. Why are you dealing with this now, this one section, rather than, if there's an issue with code of ethics, as you see, why are we not doing that all at once, just revising that?
That's a very easy answer. So it's actually purely procedural. When I came in to be the town attorney, I was only hired a few months ago as the new town attorney, this process was already started, and I jumped into it.
Okay,
So, and I told them as I was looking at this, I said, this whole code needs to be changed. We talked about it, and it can happen, but that takes a long time, and it's a lot of taxpayer money, and we don't wanna rush the whole code. So we've been working on this for months. The whole code is gonna be another couple of months worth of process. So don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. Why not take a better provision now, when you can, and then work on the rest of it later, instead of saying, well, let's stick with the bad provision that we have, because we can't change anything else yet. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me personally, but I understand your position.
yeah, so for me, it was like, wait, why this? That's the issue, why this compared to other things? Was there an incident, is there something pending, pressing that needs to be addressed? That this on the code of ethics needs to be resolved in black and white before anything else?
This was raised as a problem to the board, and they started to address it.
Okay.
That's why. I raised the issue of the whole code being problematic later. So I guess the answer is, this was flagged, they were working on this, I came in and said, yeah, there's some problems with the whole thing, but we'll fix this part first, and then we'll look at the whole thing later.
So, as far as how the rule is and how your rule is, some people mention optics, so as long as you do it the way it is right now and the way you have it here, people, you know the population here. People are going to use this to throw stones. It's just a fact. What can we do to prevent that? That's the issue. And we are all on Facebook. We are all monitoring everything else going on. The nonsense that is going on this is, at some other time, who cares? Do this. But when you reach a decision, well, they did it for this reason. Well, they did it for this reason. Whether it's true or not, it goes into this, and we keep feeding into this. Okay? I wish there was, just by sitting out, you're not eliminating nepotism. I'm sorry. It's, you can't tell me that as a board, my son wants to come in, I sit out, the rest of my board is not gonna vote for it. And that's where the claims, the allegations, the bias, you can't get away from that. And somewhere along the way, Maria went to that village meeting, pissed off, tired, and spoke about working together. Well, this is just more for to split the community more and more, okay? We'd be ignorant and pretend it doesn't exist, okay? What are we up to? 200 comments on surface of the town and village? It's back and forth. Maybe neither wording is correct. One thing you said, maybe we should, for, at least for now, we don't hire family members, because now there is no nepotism. You want to say it's discrimination because you can't have this job? Maybe Woodbury needs this right now, because there's so much nonsense going on, and you can't tell me that, hey, we're trying to do what's right and they're gonna have to deal with it. It doesn't work that way, because people feed in. And real simple, the hiring, you're allowed the hiring. I think, there's gonna be claims that this was done for a reason. Now you're just dealing with this one rule. You did this for a reason. If you just did the whole code of ethics, no one can say anything. You know what? It's antiquated, we have to refresh it. Here it is. But this one thing is just weird. And it's just going back and forth. This meeting is going to be posted, Jeff's going to post it tonight. There's going to be 100 views, and it's right back into Facebook. And it comes a point where, you know what? We have to do better. You as our leader have to lead us. And if you say this is gonna create more conflict and controversy, maybe it is time to reconsider it, at least for now. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Lady go. She's faster.
When did you begin work on the ethics, on the law? He said before he came, but was it a previous board or was it just your board in January that started working on that?
Would you like me to answer?
Yeah.
Okay, we started working on it when I became supervisor. My son was hired in December by the lieutenant. He got hired in January. When he was hired, people said that ethically he wasn't allowed to have the job working for the animal shelter. We found out that as a part-time employee, he was allowed to work at the animal shelter. All the employees left the animal shelter. My son was working full-time hours, but because of the fact that it's 3 year, he was only allowed to put in a certain amount. So now we have a shelter where somebody has been putting in time, and we looked up, and Desiree was the one who told me that there's a nepotism law. I didn't know about it. Her husband had to, deal with that, and she explained it to us. And her and the previous supervisor, Frank Claremont, told me he was going to remove this law, that it was something that could be removed. We did a lot of research. We went to other towns. Monroe does not have a nepotism law. I think there's 4 towns in Orange County that have nepotism laws. It's Chester, Harriman, Newburgh, and another place. We went through those nepotism laws, and that's when we started working on it with our attorney. There's nothing to be hidden. That's what happened, and that's how it came down. And yes, my son works at the animal shelter. He makes $19 an hour working there. and he loves what he does, and to be honest with you, there's no other full-timers, we have all part-timers working down there.
So this was done just so your son couldn't get full-time hours?
No, it was done because we started talking about the fact that this law was in place, and we didn't know when he was hired that he can never be a full-timer until Desiree let me know that this is what was going on. And I don't think that it's fair, to be honest with you, that, only town employees, like town board members, cannot have people working. We have a board that has young people on it. Teresa has a child that's 16. Brandon has a daughter, and when we looked over the laws and seeing that other towns don't have it, we didn't feel that it was fair collectively.
But I agree with Jenny, and the fact that if that's the only reason why this code is being worked on, so that you guys can employ your children, I think that speaks volumes. And I think that it's unfair to the rest of the community that can get employed, but will probably more than likely not get the job if your children are going for it as well.
That's
But the thing
No,
is,
no, no,
we
it
put
is,
out,
no, it,
we
but
put out
it
the
would.
ad and nobody was coming
Right.
for the job.
My point is, I'm not even speaking about your son at the moment. I'm speaking in general terms, right? First of all, like he said, the optics are horrendous, and I think that if you guys truly wanna do what's right for Woodbury and want to get reelected, this is something that you guys should put up on, because it will be something that will be used against you. Just
There's a lot of things that are out right now that are being used against us.
okay, well, you guys can do what you want, it's my suggestion.
Bring it.
I
Yeah,
also,
it's just my suggestion. My suggestion is that because it was really truly looked at, because you wanted your children, whatever the reason was, what you just stated, I think that you guys should really pull back.
the thing is, he
and-
was hired before we even knew that this law existed. He was
Right.
hired, and once he was hired and somebody brought it up and they put up a flag to us, that's when I started to talk to Desiree. He was hired first, and that's what happened. And he was hired, he has a different last name, the lieutenant didn't know it was my son.
I find it hard to believe, but everybody knows you and your children. So I do find that hard to believe, but it is what it is. It is what it is.
Here's a suggestion. All of a sudden, this came up. It came out of the blue. Nobody knew anything about it. We're all talking about the nepotism code. The board should communicate with the residents somehow, either on their website, Facebook page. Put information out there that we're reviewing the town code. We're looking at the ethics part of it. And this is what's underway, because not everybody can come to these meetings, not everybody can watch the meetings. If they care, they're gonna look at the website, and I think you created a Facebook page now?
Just,
Brand new.
Yeah, so, again, put that information out there, think ahead, because this is something that, as you can see, really raises the tempers of people. But if you communicate honestly, you can avoid a lot of this stuff. Thanks.
thank you.
Any other comments? Alright, Desiree, were there any written comments?
As a matter of fact, there were. We received written comments from one individual, Michael Pastel, who could not attend the meeting this evening. He addressed questions he was asked during his interview for the position on the Parks and Recreation Committee, and how he still feels that family members should not be penalized for their relatives serving in the community. He noted that a note may need to be added to the law that the decision to hire is different than the eligibility of the family members to be hired, and that the affected officials should be on record as recusing themselves from the hiring decision.
Thank you. Okay, we will move to close the public hearing.
Second.
I would like to table this so that the public comment continues. I feel like there's a lot of people out here that have more so than ever came out to this and want to speak about it, and I think that we should maybe consider reviewing the whole code.
How does everybody else feel?
Well, there's a motion, I think we have to vote on the motion.
Well, the motion is to close the public comment.
Right, so what,
Right,
so
but this is
what you're
second.
asking is to vote down the motion and then procedurally, you wanna vote down the motion, open it back for discussion, to discuss a motion to set for a time certain or adjourn, whatever you wanna do with the hearing, so. You have to, since the motion is pending, you have to vote on the pending motion to close the hearing first before you, so if you wanna have no discussion, you have to vote against the motion to close the hearing to then bring up new information, if that makes sense.
So,
So there's a motion by Councilmember Luongo, seconded by Councilmember Calori, to close the public hearing. So do you want to vote on that first?
yeah,
No, you don't wanna vote on it, or we not?
so I voted.
You're
no to
voting
close
no.
it.
Okay, so there's one vote for no. Everybody else?
So we're voting on that motion now?
To close the hearing, cause there was a motion a second, unless Teresa and Brandon would like to withdraw their motion.
Ed, how long do you need to look at this code here?
Right from scratch, it'll probably take me, to do a really good thorough job of it, a couple of weeks, to be honest with you.
Okay. I'll withdraw mine.
Me too.
So if you're redoing the entire code, that's a different public hearing.
Right, it would be different law entirely, right, that'd be new introductory print, it would start from scratch.
Okay, so if that's the intention, you can close the hearing and just not adopt the law. And then authorize the attorney to draft in a completely amended section, chapter 39.
Yeah.
Right, chapter number?
Yep, yeah,
Chapter 39.
yes.
For discussion and review at a future meeting. Am I correct?
Yep.
So I'll vote yes to close this public comment. Full run, sorry.
You need a motion first.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
We gotta make a motion again.
Well, motion never really got closed.
So we have a motion by Councilmember Luongo, seconded by Councilmember Calori,
But
to
that-
close the hearing.
Okay,
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. So that's 5 ayes to close the
Yeah.
hearing. Okay.
Come on, that's right,
So
Now
for clarity and historical purposes,
Bless you.
for the minutes and for when people look back on this 20 years and once and when my husband's in his minutes. Do you want someone to offer to adopt the law? And you can all just vote no if that's what you choose to do, or do we want to say for the minutes, the board has decided to not move forward on this law and instead directed the attorney to draft a revision for the entire law?
I'll make a motion for that.
What did I just say?
Motion for one of the.
Well, I mean, the board has decided to not adopt the law and instead directed the town attorney to draft a revision of the entire chapter 39. Still chapter 39. Is that what you're saying? Councilmember Finnegan? And do you have a second?
Second.
How does this board want to vote on it?
Aye.
Aye.
You can vote yes. Aye. Okay. I think that was fun.
Alright, now we'll move on to public comments on agenda items only. Does anybody have any comments on agenda items only? Okay, we'll go into administrative business. Can I have an acceptance of the minutes? Can I have a motion and a second to accept the receipt of the minutes of the town board meeting held on July 18, 2024?
Make the motion.
Second.
Any
I
else?
wasn't there.
You received them, right, and you reviewed them, so we're just receiving them or not, so you're still okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Approval of budget modifications. Desiree, please read the budget modifications submitted for 2024 budget.
Abstract 15 contains vouchers 2412.59 through 2413.45 and totals $481,987.65.
Can I have a motion and a second to approve abstract 15 as read?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Now, approval of budget modifications. Desiree, can you please read the budget modifications submitted for the 2024 budget?
Sure, there are 4 this evening. The first for buildings and grounds, by increasing A 1620.449 alarms and maintenance by 400 and decreasing A 1620.435 salt by the same amount. The next is for animal control, by increasing A 3510.469 food supplies by $1,000, A 3510.431 vet medication by $1,500, A 3510.411 office supplies by $200, A 3510.463 computer software by $2,800, A 599 appropriated fund balance by $2,800, decreasing A 3510.400 contractual by $1,000, A 3510.466 expenditure from donations by $1,500, A 3510.453 vehicle gas oil repairs by $500, A 3510.416 uniforms by $200. Next is for the library, by increasing L 7410.407 legal by $5,000, L 7410.463 computer software by $1,000, and increasing L 7410.100 personnel services by $6,000. The last is for the Woodbury Common Business Improvement District by increasing SMB 3120.400 contractual expenses by $8,250 and SMB 599 appropriate fund balance by $8,250.
Thank you, Desiree. Very well. Can I have a motion and a second to approve the budget modifications as read?
Make the motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Next, acceptance of resignation of E. Cassidy. Can I have a motion and a second to accept with regret Brad Cassidy's resignation from the Parks and Rec Committee effective July 23rd, 2024?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Discussion?
Any discussion?
Yeah, I just wanna say that, you know, I, as a liaison to the committee, Brad never missed a meeting and he was always hands-on for every event. And, I mean, he participated, he gave creative ideas, and I'm really sorry to see him go.
I'm gonna echo that. Brad came on when I was the chairman of the parks. He's a heck of a worker, and if what he did for the Parks Committee is just a sliver of what he does for the Buildings and Grounds Department, we're lucky to have him on Buildings and Grounds as well. He was always, reliable, and I'm gonna miss him, and I'm not voting on it. I don't wanna see you go, Brad. I'm just kidding, I vote on it.
I will actually say also, it was great because, Brad does building and the grounds, so he knew the property, he knew the parks.
Yep.
And when he got onto the committee, I was really happy because, not only was he attending these things, in the parks because he worked there, he knew the whole area, he had everything set up for all the events. So it is going to be a huge loss to, the Parks Committee. But I respect his decisions and everything like that. He's a really hard worker, he's around all the time. At least he's not leaving us.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed. Next is to schedule a special meeting on August 12th, 2024 at 6 o'clock for a work session. Can I have a motion in a second?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed. Old business, authorize the supervisor to sign the IT renewal agreement. Can I have a motion and a second to authorize myself to sign the Agile renewal agreement, which covers us from August 1st, 2024 through July 31st, 2025, with a flat fee of $2,643.56 per month.
Make the motion.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed. Now we'll move on to new business. Authorize the supervisor to sign the job order 1 for the box culvert walking bridge at the pool. Can I have a motion and a second to authorize myself to sign the job order 1 for the box culvert walking bridge work at John Ski Memorial Pool in the amount of $301,287.36.
Make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
the FEMA grant currently in work. So those of you who've gone by the pool and seen all the work that they did, I mean, they were amazing. They came in, Joey and I were there, and it was like, they came in, they already had the cement ready. You know, the whole thing, they put it in with the rocks, so we're hoping now, hopefully less flooding and things like that, you know, and it will help out with the pool, so. Next is to authorize the supervisor to sign the job order 2 for the box culvert walking bridge at the pool.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Does anybody from the public have anything they would like to say which is not related to the agenda?
I have a question. Beverly Silvera, Woodbury. Can you tell us if there's any update on the status of the road bridge?
We just had our, engineer, he was here last week, he, came and he did a whole thing on the bridge, so. On the next meeting, but yeah, they are working on it, they are kind of putting it together at this point. He said that they have to do an environmental study.
Yep.
Still?
Yeah, it's an invasive species, so that's what he said that they're working on, but it should be going through, and then, just like rebuilding underneath the bridge, so it's gonna be coming like pretty much put together, they'll build it like under the bridge, right, and then they have the one over, so once they remove it, hopefully it'll be a smooth transition.
So what would be the estimated time? Will it be up and operational by winter or official until spring?
We weren't given a timeline, it was based on that environmental study that they were doing.
We were hoping to have it like during the summer,
Yeah.
some school buses, and then, you know, we wouldn't have to worry with the snowplows and things like that, but, you know, things move so slowly.
Okay, so to that point, it may need some shoring up because it's rattling and clunking and shaking.
Hopefully it won't be longer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's you again, Martha. I wanted to address, an issue, the issue of the cabanas at the pool, at the John Burke Memorial. I am requesting the board to reconsider removing them from the pool area. Our mission has always been to make our parks a safe and enjoyable place for our community. However, I am not speaking as the chairwoman of the committee. This is my personal feeling. However, the presence of these cabanas has led to increased hostility and conflict within the community. Despite efforts to resolve these issues, the situation continues to be problematic. It is unfair to burden our park staff with monitoring these cabanas and to expose them and the rest of our community, especially children, to such conflicts. In my humble opinion, we should support unity within our community, and if there's something that threatens it, especially something as minor as a cabana, we should remove it, particularly when people can bring their own shade structures. Because it isn't like, if they remove the cabanas, they won't have any shade structures. They can bring umbrellas, they can bring tents, they can still have their own shade structures, and nobody will take their shade structure. But as it is, you know, there's a lot of fighting over these cabanas. So given this, I urge you to reconsider whether the cabanas align with our mission and contribute positively to our community environment. Perhaps it's even just a matter of removing them for the remainder of the season and reconsidering them at a later date. Thank you for your time. Oh, and just one more thing. Now I'm speaking as the chairwoman of the committee. Yes, exactly. I am truly gonna miss Brad, because he was my go-to. He was a die-hard, he loves the parks, and, you know, everyone can see just how much he really appreciates the community, how much he appreciates the parks. He was always if one person on that committee I could count on, it was always Brad. I tried to convince him to stay, told him he really didn't wanna do that, but he disagreed with me, so sadly, I am gonna miss him, and I really wish that he hadn't left, but he was one of the good ones.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
Before you, Jim.
Maria Hunter. First of all, on behalf of the Hunter family, I would like to thank the 3 Woodbury police officers that responded to our home Monday morning at 1:45 in the morning. Our mother-in-law, she's okay. She accidentally set her alert off. So here I wake up, there's 3 police officers standing in my driveway with police cars, and thankfully she's okay. So I always thank the police department when they do a service that comes to the Hunter home. So thank you again to, I don't remember their names, it was 1:45 in the morning, I was half asleep, but they're there for us. And I'm not sure if the ambulance call was set out, because one of the ambulance members texted me the next morning, is your mother-in-law okay? So I don't know how the ambulance corps was notified or not, but thank you to all who were involved with that. I noticed that, you mentioned that, August 12th, that you've scheduled a work session, and I know that was also put out in a public, release. If the other party doesn't agree to this meeting, will this be postponed or canceled, or will we be given notice, or are you still gonna have this meeting, this work session?
3 of the members agreed to meet us.
Okay, but they still have to vote on it, I guess, at their meeting next week to make it official.
And doesn't,
That would be the village.
I don't know village procedure, so.
Well, village, anytime you get 3 or more members of a governing body, and you're gonna discuss, but you're not voting on.
No, I just know the open meetings law, so they have to post notice.
Yep.
The vote would be a local procedural question, but the state law does not require them to have a formal vote.
Right.
If their local procedure does, it does. I'm not the village attorney, I can't speak to what the village board can do.
I was just asking, if they,
Yes.
if they decide for whatever reason they don't show up, will you still have this meeting that the public can come and listen to what you were going to talk about? It's
it's supposed to be a work session to agree on working on something, so if you
Yeah.
don't have the other side of the board there,
So
you
you're
can't
not
really
gonna,
work on
alright, I
something.
just wanna make sure, cause I put it down on my calendar, cause you know I'll be there.
Thank you.
Are you sick again?
No, it's not that. You got it all out.
Let's see the show.
Thanks, Tim.
Thanks, Tim.
There's all the stuff, yeah. You want me to get the Lysol? I'll get the Lysol out for you.
You like the plastic device.
Yeah, right?
On another note, I wanna thank this board for not adopting this local law that was presented tonight, and to authorizing the town attorney to look at the entire ethics law. So I thank you for listening to us who are here in the meeting tonight, and whoever sent the letter in. So I thank you for listening to us, and to sit back and take another look at that law, so. This is a sore subject. I like our libraries, I like our employees. What I don't like, I appreciate their budget. I'm not saying anything about their budget and how to spend it. What I do not like, tonight, HR MVP and CDP HP, which is dental and health insurance, came out of the library line, which is fine, they can pay for it. But this person, which I brought up a couple of months ago, it's a town policy, I believe. This person who's on the town policy should not be on the town policy, it should be on the WPL policy, and they should probably have their own policy, because they do cover their own employees, because it doesn't come out. That's my only grievance with this being done. I am not begrudging the person having health insurance, dental insurance, but that person should not be, in my opinion, on the town and policy with all the other employees. Woodbury Public Library wanted to go on their own, that's no problem. If their other employee, if the employees are covered by WPL, because they have an administrator, if I'm not mistaken, then this person should be removed from the town policy and put on the separate policy for the library. But that's my humble opinion. Enough said as a resident. You want that. Chairperson, the beautification committee. We didn't have a meeting tonight because 4 family members couldn't attend. One is waiting for their grandchild to be born. I haven't heard from him yet if the grandchild was born. The other family members couldn't be here, so I had to cancel the meeting. I have to do a budget works sheet for September. And as contentious as this budget has been, we went from 55,000, we dropped it down to 52,000 this year. Requested 12,000 be carried over towards the Victory Park. So it shows that our current budget for 2024 is 64,250. When I present the budget and talk to on the meeting on September 10th, I will be dropping the budget down to $25,000. Due to the fact we are maxed out with utility poles, 20 of them will be put up this season. We're waiting for the poles to be approved. We have no more room to store these items. We have 3 units at the highway garage, there are 2 at the reservoir, and I will be ordering, once I speak with Joey, a 3rd unit, storage unit to be up at the reservoir. We've outgrown. We have purchased everything that needs to be purchased for all the locations in Woodbury. This year we will take a look at when we go through the shed in another couple weeks to see what needs to be replaced. But at this time, I think we have maxed out utility pole decorations. So, and the beautification lease will be there. We do have to cover our electricity and any miscellaneous replacements. So I just want the public to know, I am in actuality reducing the beautification budget from $52,000 down to $25,000 for next year. And I'm doing this with a heavy heart, not because I'm leaving. I've done 20 years with this beautification committee. I expect to be staying here for quite some time. My term doesn't end up for another 6 years. And I don't want any retribution from any board member, employee against me if I make a decision to do something else in my life. I know it's been a bone of contention between the village board and the town board, the beautification committee here and there. There's a vote next week on it. The mayor has been quite explicit about having me go there. And it's not to do plantings, not to do decorations, it's projects that the mayor and his board would like to see preserved in Woodbury. It's 2 different things. Beautification, yes, they're different, in my opinion. Whether I do accept the thing for next week, that's up to me to decide. I know if I do accept it, people are gonna be pissed off at me. I know I'm losing my right-hand person, which is my son, and my left-hand person, which is my husband. They've been there for me for the last 20 years. We have been here for 20 years. And Sandy, you were a member many years ago when we started. You know darn well what I'm going through. Go ahead.
Well, I'd like to ask you, Maria, I was at the meeting that the mayor announced this second beautification committee, and he outlined projects that you've been working on under your current committee. Oak Clove, I cannot work on because it's a village-owned property, so is Buena Vista. I have not worked on those, Sandy, this year What I'm
because
saying is, if you look back on all your minutes, they've been part of your August report.
Yeah,
They're on your August report every year.
they have been.
And the mayor was there, and the mayor came to your
And this is one of the
meeting last
reasons why
year.
I'm dropping my budget because of you. This is one of the reasons why, because Sandy, you have been so negative.
Okay,
go
Maria,
there.
I think that
John
that
and
this
Mary
can
can
end
agree
now.
to not agree with this. Sandy, I
I was
appreciate
asking
everything
you a
that you do in
question.
town.
I was asking you a question.
Did I finish speaking with the rest of my?
You interrupted me. I was asking you a
I
question.
wasn't finished with my report yet, Sandy, but go ahead.
Okay,
fine, go ahead. Thank you for not interrupting my report any longer. And then curiously, because the mayor put out something about, in his newsletter, about beautification and banners, I get a curious email Monday, and the supervisor wants me to give them and the board a report by the 5th of August. You give me a whole week. I didn't have a meeting, so I cannot give you a report on August 5th. But I will tell you, I have been working on it. We do have a proposal from Woodbury military banners, because it's brought out. I know what the costs are. And if you think it's easy, work with Orange and Rockland, think again. There are so many things that we have to do. We have to get insurance, the poll numbers, we need the specifications for the banners and the brackets. It's not an easy thing to work with Orange and Rockland to get this done. And I know there's been volunteers to help me do this, but let me tell you, has it been long? 2019, Desiree and I started this. 5 years later, I'm still trying to work on it. I just recently went over the list. I only have 16 names. I need a minimum of 30. I'm sure once we put everything together with the polls, I will get the 30. And yes, Brandon, I have you on my list.
Okay, no, I'm just curious, as far as, you're talking about the veterans for
Yes,
the list?
the military tribute banners.
Now, I know recently, and not so recently, the Woodbury Historical Society had like a mural, a big
mural
display, yeah, they
Yes.
had it at the Cemetery of Highlands. And they had it recently right outside their front door on 32. Would they be able to help you get the names and the pictures that you so much require?
It's not so much just the names and the pictures. People have to purchase the banners. We had said it was about $3,000 would come from the beautification budget. I have to sit down and talk with Joey because I have a different avenue I wanna go down. Unfortunately, I couldn't have my meeting tonight because of family members who couldn't be here. You have to have 4 to have a meeting. So,
Now, you don't have to say it now, but if you want, later on, do you have an estimated cost of what it would be? You don't, again, you don't have to say it publicly, if you wanna talk later on or whatever, or,
it'll come to about, the poles, the brackets themselves are about $50 a piece.
okay.
They went up in price over a year.
Forget about the brackets, what about the actual manufacturing?
The banners themselves,
Yes,
we're looking at probably between $120 and $130 per. So you're looking at possibly, I can't get it right now, $180 per pole, includes the brackets and the banner.
okay.
We were gonna come up and I had asked, which I did at the last budget or recently, that carried the beautification would cover the brackets. And then we would ask the people who wanted to be on there, because we have to get their picture. Someone might not want their pictures on there.
So if we got 20, you're talking
I
around
need-
between $2,000 and $3,000?
I need a minimum of 30,
Minimum of 30,
Minimum of
okay, so
30.
you're talking about $3,500.
yeah.
Maria, you said you have 16 of them already?
Yes,
And
you're
that was
on,
without,
you're on,
without
I have,
funding?
well, here's the thing. I haven't been invited to meetings at the cemetery with the men from the Legion. I haven't been invited by the Historical Society. Granted, my meetings are always open until people come.
Well, no, I'm saying that's good, if you have 16 without anybody from the public knowing it's happened, you'll definitely get 14 more.
I don't
Sure.
think you need a meeting to go to the Historical Society to ask about our veterans.
Well, not that, but it's more so if they're doing a project up at being on the Memorial Day parade, you would think that we would all work together.
Mhm.
But we don't. We
Well, I mean, like
all
when-
forget about each
When
other,
Monroe
because we're
did
all
their
busy.
banners, they put out a form to fill out.
Oh, I have
You know,
their
it's
form.
on Facebook, it's out in the town hall, village hall, you know,
It was like $300 a banner too, wasn't it?
something like
The
that.
last one,
$250
the last one I saw, it's $185 for the Monroe Village, but they're only up certain times. You're up for 2 months, you come down, you get your banner. The brackets stay up, you can't take the brackets down, then the next batch go up, if there's people who, but they have to keep, if they wanna keep them up all year long, they have to pay the $195 and then additional funds. That's from what I read from their application.
Well, I'm just saying, if you got 16 without it going out, I'm sure you'll have no problem filling it up.
I don't think I will, but it's been, I was in Oregon Monday morning after my doctor's appointment, and I was there for half an hour trying to go over all this form. And, now I have the person's name. But, here's the thing. This is a community of Woodbury. I'm on the town side of it, the village wants it. I'm also thinking of asking the village, the town, excuse me, I would like this to go to Town of Woodbury Memorial Day Parade Committee and let them handle this, which I'm chairperson of, and I do have a variety of people on there. And let them do this, so I don't have the town, I don't have the village pulling me down the middle and splitting me down the middle, because it's becoming
Well,
a
again, you
habit.
said you've been on this since what, when, 2016, 17, 19?
2019 started with beautification with the town.
Okay,
Whatever happened, it wound up going with the village, then it came back to us, then it came, it's been bounced back and forth between town and village. It's before your time, Brandon, you didn't know
Yep.
about it. It's just been mind-boggling. And to say that, to be torn between the town and the village.
we just want it done.
Yeah.
I know you want it done.
Village helped out because this was under the
We,
revitalization committee and
I
the
have your
hardware,
information from you.
the banners itself weren't covered because it has to be able to last for 10 years, but the hardware was covered. And there's $100,000, well, a little bit less now because some items were purchased. Can we get some of that money to be purchased, so it would be a village and town effort?
If the village is going to apply to Senator Skoufis to use that money towards the banners, which I don't think they can, I might be mistaken, because I thought that was looked at for the revitalization committee to do it. We may have to get a special decision from Senator Skoufis, yes, here's Maria, if there's $35,000 in there, go with it. And then we won't charge the residents to purchase the banners.
Yeah, I mean, there's multiple avenues. Every town around us has them. I mean, even little, Island Falls has them.
Stony Point.
Stony
County,
Point, Monroe. I went down to
City.
Polquag in rural farm country on 411, and they're up and down the road.
I was in the city of Cape May, that's another, it's beautiful down there. You drive into any other town or village within the area, you see the banners.
Yeah.
You see how neat and clean the properties are.
Maria, you said, I'm sorry, that your concern was between the town and the village wanting you to both do the banners? Well,
Have you seen-
you
have you
budgeted since 2019, I would assume.
No,
Well,
I only talked about the banners in the budget last year. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, when I had the meeting.
I think it's been
20
talked about since I've been on the board.
Well, the thing of it is, the village had it, and I only just recently got it from the village last August. Cause that's what I got the permission from this Military Tribute Banner Corporation, which they did a mock-up for me, which I have to get approved by some, cause there's like 12 different mock-ups that you can do. So, yes, it's been going back and forth. Whenever I carried money over from one year to the next, it was for a specific item.
Cause I think there was emails going back, we talked about it, it was like July of 12, or not 12, I'm sorry, 22, or whatever it was, but if we already budgeted for the town, why wouldn't you just tell the village? I've already budgeted for my beautification committee for the 10th, not the Memorial Day Parade Committee, not the village beautification committee that hasn't been
Well, you can
adopted
come up
yet.
with a solution with me.
I've been telling you for
I
3
know,
years that I
know
would
what you've been
gladly
telling-
help you as a
I know
disabled
you've been
veteran.
telling me, I've been leaving you out because you're stuck between a rock and a hard place with the town and the village.
There's no rock and roll. The
And
town
listen,
budgeted for it, I'd be more than happy to help you with it.
I'll make 6 phone calls to 6 different towns and communities tomorrow and figure out how they did it.
No, thank you, I'm taking care of it.
Alright, let's get it done.
Any other comments? There you go, Joey.
Joe, are you speaking as of yourself or someone else?
Which hat are you wearing?
Just one hat today.
I like your shirt,
On a lighter note, just so everybody knows, the paddle boats are back at the reservoir. I think everybody's having a good time so far. There are some rules and regulations, we sent them out, and so far, everything's great, and people have just been elated about it. So, it's a good thing. We are working on a dock proposal, I haven't showed it to you guys, I'll show it to you guys soon. So if we can extend the dock out, we could put all 6 of them in for next year, and we can go from there. So, that's an ongoing thing, but they're there, they're good, the lifeguards are taking over, they got them all under control, so that's a good thing. Camp is in its second session, we did the first 4 weeks, we got 3 weeks, so 2.5 weeks left, or a couple days. So that's a good thing, there's like 55 kids in camp, they're all having a good time. We have a few programs coming up with camp, in the next couple of weeks, so that'll be a good thing for them. Buildings and grounds, it's an ongoing thing, doing our maintenance, doing the pool maintenance, and whatever else, whoever calls us to do stuff, you know, we're on top of that stuff. August 10th is field day at the pool. Just so everybody's gonna know, it'll be a flag going out to the pavilion will be closed off. That's gonna be ours for the day, that'll be out there, so hopefully there's no yelling and screaming at me for that, okay? But we have, the DJ, we have a couple of food trucks gonna be there, and a typical, you know, water balloon fight, 3-legged race, a bunch of other stuff. The firemen are coming at, I don't know if you know this, Tim, but they're coming at 4 o'clock to do the splashdown for the kids, so it should be a good day for all. And like I said, that's all I got, and so unless you guys got any questions.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Joey. Does anybody else have anything to say, any comments or whatever? Since we already took care of, department. Ed, do you have anything that you'd like to say?
Okay.
Chief Watson? Lieutenant?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Councilmember, Cory.
All right, as always, thank you to everyone that came out tonight. Speaking of camps, the session 1 end party, that we had, was a lot of fun with the talent show that the kids put together. It was great to see the kids having so much fun and the counselors and everybody interacting, so we got a really, really great program over there. And it really starts with you, Joey, and it goes right down the line with everybody involved, everybody at Pam and the counselors. And it's just a great thing to see so many kids having a great time. And the programs that have been put together, the activities, it's a lot of fun. I get a lot of feedback from people going to the res that see this going on, and they're very happy to see it, so thank you for that. Please extend my thanks to, or our thanks to everyone involved. A big thank you to the Gatehouse Committee, Woodbury Historical Society, and the Woodbury Public Library for a great event on Monday at the Gatehouse. The summer reading program features some storytelling from Rapunzel, and followed by some crafts and web shooting from everyone's friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. They set up targets with all the villains, and the kids had the string, what do you call those things? Silly string, thank you. And it was, everyone had, my son was there, he had a blast, so a great time was had by all, and look forward to all the future events that you guys have to offer, so thank you. That's all from me.
Thank you. Councilmember Berglioni.
I just wanna thank everyone for coming out tonight, and also to remind everyone that uses the Woodbury Public Library that they are closed tomorrow and Saturday. They're having a, systems conversion, and once that hopefully goes through smoothly, they'll be up and running again. Thank you.
Councilmember Wando, sorry.
Thank you everyone for coming out tonight, we appreciate all the comments and we will be taking them into consideration. Usually I have some happy-go-lucky stuff to say, but tonight I don't. I'm getting really tired of being silent, so I think it's time to bring back the old Teresa that used to come to the meetings, ready for war, so here it goes. It's very disheartening to see the same few individuals who were once supportive now attempting to tarnish our board's reputation and harm the innocent people working for our town. We must consider who's spreading these lies and what their ulterior motives might be. While spinning a false narrative might be their idea of fun, it ultimately alienates many constituents. These rumors and so-called articles are merely noise to our board, and it's sickening to witness such harmful actions just to gain attention because your sources dislike us for various reasons, such as being a Republican, a strong woman, a threat to your agenda, or interfering with attempts to take over our police department and animal shelter. Our police department shelter staff are here to stay. We love and support them, and the village mayor can obtain these departments by creating his own, which would be a waste of taxpayers' money, in my opinion. It would be great if everyone focused on being helpful instead of hurtful, caring instead of hateful, and remembered that we are all human beings despite our political involvement. Politics doesn't need to be ugly. However, our board's not gonna back down just to make headlines and spread mistruths. For some, no matter what we do, we will always be wrong and disliked. That's fine by me. I didn't run for town council to win a popularity contest. We're here to work, and no matter what comes our way, we will continue to do so to the best of our committed and frequently praised abilities. And I also have a quote that I read yesterday, so I'm gonna read it. It's actually hilarious watching someone try their best to destroy your life, but then they get mad when they realize that no matter what they do, you just keep on shining bright like a diamond. And I'm just gonna say, we're all 10-carat diamonds up here, and we're gonna continue to shine bright, so, thank you.
Thank you, Teresa.
Thank you, Teresa. Deputy Supervisor Finnegan.
I don't really have any comments tonight. Thank you, everybody, for coming out and speaking your mind on matters that obviously affect everybody in the community, and I think that's important, whether it's right, wrong, or different, that you get out and speak your mind, so, thank you.
Thank you. Town Clerk Hopkins. I just wanna thank everybody for coming out tonight. I wanna thank Joey and, everybody that's involved in the parks and stuff, Martha, for being there the last day of the kids' camp. My kids did the first, break, and it was really cute watching all the little girls, girls and boys dance at the end of the day. And what was killing me was watching these kids dance to these songs that were filled with such emotion, and I'm sitting there as an adult, I know what they mean, I don't think these kids know what they mean, and seeing these kids really feel that emotion, and it was I don't know, it hit me because, kinda like what Teresa had said, we all live here in Woodbury. It's a beautiful thing watching our kids grow. It's beautiful being at the parks and knowing the people, and there's so many people here that I know from the day that I moved here, and getting involved in politics when you have people that you thought were your friends and you walk down this road, and whether you don't agree or disagree or see things differently, to paint pictures of people and to ruin those things, it's not the right thing. And when I'm watching these little kids and they're dancing with this emotion, they are watching us all. We are their examples. When we're talking bad about the person next to us, or we're talking bad about somebody in the town, or somebody doesn't look the way that we look, or we don't agree with our neighbor, our kids are listening. They're picking up on that. They're feeding off of our emotions, So the only thing that we can do is try to be better people, strive to be better people. Don't follow the rumors. One thing I have to say is I feel like when I was younger, I was blinded by what people would tell me, and I'm grateful as I got older to not judge somebody until I got to know them, see it with my own eyes and hear it with my own ears, and I love this board. There's a lot of people in this community that all work together. Martha is involved so much in the parks. We've known each other for a while. Joey, everybody. I feel bad that Brad's leaving, but I think it's just so important to keep talking to each other and knowing what you all have to offer. And I want to thank the Historical Society for throwing an amazing 100th anniversary. It was great. The board had an idea to all dress up in 1920s outfits, and we went down and we showed up, and thank God for the car club in Windsor. They came and picked us up in their Model T Fords, and we got to drive down in class down to the Historical Society, where everybody had out they had everything, and they were doing all the exhibits and talking to us, and the police were there, and it was just a great day. And that's the stuff that I like to see here in Woodbury. I like to see the positivity. I like to see the people working for each other, spreading the knowledge, the history how things happen here in Woodbury. And if we just focus on that and be kinder, it'd be a lot better. So, can I have a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting?
Make the motion.
Second.